Hey, good evening, everyone. Chris Schultz, Friday Night Victors.com. This is our week 8 video picks, and we will also rehash some of the week 7 uh, games
Chicanery.
that we had last week. Where mine is scary today because his wife had a baby. So congratulations to Gary Hoff and his wife Shelby on their brand new baby. Did he give us a name, Frank?
Yeah. I know the first name is wrong. I know that much.
Okay. And that is Frank Vashner over there, and he wasn't here last week, but he's got the horse's head on, kind of freaking me out. Can't really understand him that well. But we're gonna try and get through this first part. Frank, how are you doing tonight?
Well, first I have to apologize to everyone for not being on last week as the proverbial fit hit the shan between my day job and announcing volleyball, among other things. So I'm here tonight. I'm paying my penance, but it's only going to be for a short time because this thing is a pain in the butt to run.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about some games last week. Let's talk about the biggest game from last week. That was the Remax Masters Game of the Week down at Navarre Field. That was SMCC. I think I had the right score, 37, Flat Rock 14. Frank, how about your
Yes.
thoughts on that game?
Well, FMCC, they just keep on trucking. I mean, I thought that it was a little bit of a letdown spot with that big one over Riverview. A little bit. Excuse me. The Falcons, the defense just did their job. They flustered Graham Youngie, and of course, run-heavy teams continue to be the Rams' kryptonite. And I have to give a mention to Drew Harris, who is making a case to be Swiss Army Knife 2.0. He ran for a touchdown, caught a touchdown, kicked a field goal, kicked 4 extra heads, and called it a lot more as well. Man, from the winner.
Yeah, it was yeah, I don't know if the score was as close as the final score. I mean, I uh I know last week when we talked about this game, I threw out some things that Flat Rock really hadn't well there he is. Okay. That Flat Rock really hadn't
Sorry.
scored much in the last 2 years or the last 5 years against SMCC. And I just thought the Falcons were the better team, and I think it showed, there was some banter in the comments sections of things that it's dark there at Navarre and you can't see the ball and whatever. I don't, who cares? You know, uh, stop the T. Stop the T and you have a chance at a league championship. You couldn't do that. The Rams couldn't, they tried to maybe run the ball a little bit more than usual. I'm not sure what the thought process was behind that when you have a quarterback that's thrown for as many yards as Graham Youngie has. But whatever. I've never won a football game as a varsity football coach. But then again, as I always say, Frank, I've never lost one either. So
Yeah.
who knows? I was right
But
on.
I think I also have to give mention to the fact that I know I've said this in the past, but SMCC defensive coordinator Brian Flint, that guy is just a wizard with defense. And I mean, I was actually talking to him a little bit tonight at volleyball, and they mentioned about how much speed that they have back there, and speed on defense is never a bad thing.
No, no, never, never. So, all right, let's jump around to a couple of other scores here. How about this score? And I Airport 60, Jefferson 43. The over-under on that game apparently was 99. I took the over. Your thoughts on this, Frank?
Well, it looks more like a game of NCAA football on the Xbox because both teams are going up and down the field. So I know that I have to give a call to Airport's Patrick Murphy. He scored 4 touchdowns. I don't think he had himself a game running the football, but I really think Luke Boudry, Jefferson's quarterback, took another big step forward. I think he had probably his best game in his career, had over 200 yards on the ground, 100 yards through the air. And the thing is, if
he actually had a defense on the other side and a really good line in front of him, Jefferson would be a holy terror. So I mean, they're slowly getting there, but I definitely think that maybe next year and the year after that, I think Luke Boudry is going to be making a strong case for Player of the Year.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's still a 17-point loss any way you look at it. I know they put up some
Yeah,
points.
yeah,
Uh
but I mean, the Bears didn't lose. It was because of Luke. He, I mean, he accounted for all 6 of their touchdowns.
mhm.
Problem is, he just didn't have any defense to help him out.
Well, I mean, that's part of the game, I suppose. I'll just say that, I said Airport would win 4 in a row, and they've won 3 in a row now. So uh if they can get one, maybe this week against Milan, then maybe anything can happen in week 9 against uh I guess
Auburn Hills, Avondale.
yeah, Avondale. And I don't know, I've been looking at Avondale, and I their scores are very intimidating, quite frankly. So, but we'll get to that
Yeah.
in week 9. Let's look at another game. We had what was the one? Everest Collegiate 24, Whiteford 12. I mean, Everest Collegiate's the real deal. I mean, they have a really good team, probably the best team they've ever had. And Whiteford keeps this game close. Thoughts, Frank?
Well, I mean, we mentioned on Bring the Wood podcast, shameless plug, Monday night, right, that Collegiate is one of the top dogs in Division 8. I mean, they could possibly get to the Final Four there unless they end up in the same region as a Fowler or somebody else is really good. But I mean, Collegiate, I mean, they had always ran into Whiteford in the past the playoffs and just couldn't overcome that. And now you've seen that they've actually got some better horses. They'll take care of business. But I mean, Whiteford, they actually hung tough with them, given the fact that they too had lost a lot of talent as well. And I think Whiteford, they're still going to be a tough out to come postseason as well. And I know, Chris, you said heart of a champion. I think that could very well prove true.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, let's look at one more game. I was going to bounce the Carlson 49, Woodhaven 14 game, but I mean, I'm surprised Woodhaven gets beat that bad. But let's shoot down to a game that took place on Thursday night for whatever reason, and that was Bedford 31 and Ann Arbor Huron 20. That's a big win for the Kicking Mules. It sets them up a good chance to make the playoffs.
Yes, it does. I had said that it was a game that they needed to win in order to keep their playoff hopes alive. And right now, as it stands, and they pretty much have to get a win this week in order to stay in the playoff hunt, and might be best suited winning out just to stay comfortable. But of course, I mean, that game on Thursday night's a little bit weird here in October, but that was only because Ann Arbor Huron has a large Jewish population, and it was the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. So all the Ann Arbor schools are pretty much playing on Thursday.
Hmm.
Hey, but I mean, Mules took care of business, so they're sitting at 4-3, and of course they've got a pretty big game this week, and it's a rivalry game too against Monroe for the Golden Cleat.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember who they play week 9, but I think they really need to win this
It's
game.
Toledo St. Francis,
Yeah,
who
so I
is
don't I don't know much about St. Francis, but I think Bedford, if they win this game against Monroe, they could lose that game in week 9 and still get in. Does that sound right?
yes, I was using Canadine's playoff wizard or today just to run those projections, and that's how it would work. Obviously, it's going to depend how week 8 goes with everywhere else too. But I'd say pretty good chance Bedford gets in.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to the picks. We're going to keep this moving along. We just have two of us today, and we're going to give our thoughts here. And eh, there's not a lot of great matchups in the grand scheme of things, but let's throw them out there. The first one is the battle for the Colvin Cup. 6-1 Riverview, the Pirates at 0-7 Grozeal. Are they finally on their new field over there? Or are they playing somewhere else, Frank? I don't even know.
I believe Grosse Seal is on their new field finally.
Oh, good. Okay.
But I mean, you mentioned Colvin Cup. It is rivalry week, so
Yeah.
so That's on the line, and I got some stats for you. Riverview leads the all-time series 42-22, but the Pirates are currently projected to be on the road for the playoffs, so they're probably going to need some bonus points from somewhere here to at least get a home game and serve some double cheeseburgers or pizza rolls at home.
Mhm.
Gross Eel, here's what I came up with. They need a combined 36 points in their last two games to avoid the worst scoring total in a 9-game season. So I don't know how much of that they're going to get against the Pirates, but I'm taking Riverview to win and win big.
I agree. I'm gonna go with Riverview. Riverview has Monroe week 9. They'll get a bunch of points for beating a Division I team if they can win that game. Just depends on how many bonus points they'll get there. The Grozeal being Division 5 and not having a win under the belt. That hurts a little bit. Though I think Riverview might need everybody from around the Huron League to win some games week 9 and really help out with those bonus points. But we'll see. So, all right, let's stay in the Huron League. This is a big game. Airport 3-4 at Milan. I believe they're 2-5. And I know I said earlier, I think Airport, completes that quadruple and wins the 4th game in a row. But go ahead, Frank. Give your thoughts here.
Well, Airport, in order to make the playoffs, they pretty much need to win out and will likely need some help too. I did some projections, and if they win out, they're pretty much on the bubble. So they're probably going to need some help in week 9 as well. Well, and also Milan, they're still slightly alive. I mean, if they went out and get some help, they can still get in, but I think they're pretty much cooked. And I agree with you, Chris. I think Airport gets 4 in a row here and sets up a chance to get in week 9 with a win over Avondale.
Yeah, I think Airport wins, and I believe it's Avondale.
Tomato, tomato.
It's not Avon, Colleen. If they beat Avondale, I'm willing to bet they get in because
Yeah.
Avondale's Division 2, I believe, and they're currently 6-1, 5-2. But they've played some really they played some good teams. I think
Yeah.
they played some good teams in like really close games. Like I was surprised when I was looking at scores the other day. So I'm getting ahead of ourselves. So let's do this. Here's a big game. Erie Mason, 1-6 at Lutheran Westland, 3-4. Little insight, my Advanced Technology Academy Lakers played both those teams. And I would say both games were pretty much over at halftime. We won both games. Erie Mason was able to score on us a little bit, throwing the ball. Lutheran Westland did not score on us, and I believe the final was 44-0.
Yep.
It's just an interesting pick here. I know where I'm going to go, but what do you think here, Frank?
Well, you kind of took one of my notes away. Is Lutheran Westland was blanked 44-0 by the Mighty Lakers last week. Erie Mason, on the other hand, they have been shut out 3 times this year. That's the most since 2017. I mean, it definitely won't be a 4th time this week. And I think the Eagles get back in the win column.
Ooh. Okay. Wow. All right. I'm not I'm gonna go with Lutheran Westland here. And for whatever reason, I could be wrong. I mean, I am leading this overall series over you guys, and it's pretty handily at this point, but we've all had quite a run this year picking games, but I'm gonna go with Lutheran Westland. I think on our end, when we played them last week, we just had them scouted really well. And every time they ran their go-to play, we just had someone there faster is really what it was. And and we jumped on them early and often. But I was actually impressed with a lot of stuff they did. They were extremely well coached. Erie Mason, I think, is well coached. They're just, young and you know had some injuries during the course of the season. I think it'll be a good game, and I'll probably go something like Lutheran Westland 21, Mason 20. So, all right, let's stay in the now. Let's go. We're gonna go a big game right here. We'll stay in the TCC. Whiteford is now 3-4. Is that right?
Yes.
They're playing at White Pigeon, 7-0. Give us some facts here, Frank.
Well, this is actually the first regular season meeting between both teams. They've met in the last two playoffs. Whiteford won those games by a combined 92-32. However, those games were in the woods. This game is in White Pigeon. And we mentioned on Bring the Wood that White Pigeon was probably another team that could challenge in Division 8 this year. I mean, they'll obviously got to play Whiteford this week, but they won't have to see them in the playoffs. So, and I'm actually going to go with White Pigeon in this one on a somewhat close game. Just, I think travel is really starting to get to the Bobcats, being on the road for as much as they have all year.
Where is White Pigeon? How far is that drive, Frank?
That is about a 120-mile drive.
Wow, 120 miles. Sorry, I'm getting swooped by a fly out here. I'm not sure what's going on. 120 miles. So that's not too far. So that's the what? West?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nope. I'm going with the heart of a champion. I'm going with the Whiteford Bobcats. I think they're going to make the 120-mile drive, and they're going to win the game somehow, and they're going to have themselves a party all the way back, looking to get in the playoffs in Division 7 going into Week 9. So I'm going to go with the Bobcats there. So giving you two opportunities to close the spread there, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go with where am I at? I missed the game last week, by the way, but we won't bring that up. 6-1 Summerfield at Van Loo, who is 0-8. It's in Ohio. How far is that drive for the Bulldogs?
I didn't look this up. I think Van Loo is kind of in the
Northwest?
central part of Western Ohio. But I also know that Van Loo got beat by Pioneer North Central, who Summerfield will absolutely dump trucked. So I'll take the Bulldogs to win and win big.
Yeah, I'm going to go Summerfield 60 burger. Big win. Once again, long ride home. Party time for the Bulldogs on the bus. All right, let's go to rivalry game. The 1-6 Jefferson Bears, who we talked about a little bit earlier, at the 7-0 in the dark lit confines of Navarre Field, SMCC. What's your thought here? I mean, I'll throw it out there. This game will be over by halftime. CC wins.
Well, I've got some stuff for the people.
Okay.
SMCC leads the all-time series 41-16.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons are also number 1 in Division 7 in playoff points. Now, trivia break. When was the last time SMCC lost to Jefferson but finished the year with a winning record? The first person I asked this was Chad Myers, and he knew it.
Well, when was the last time they beat him? Would have been 2017. I
Nope.
bet you. Well, so here's my guess. It is going to be Jefferson 1, and you said CC had a winning record.
Jefferson won, but SMCC finished the year with a winning record.
2010.
Nope. SMCC beat them that year and got to Ford Field. The correct answer is 2007.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
That was actually when the last time both SMCC and Jefferson were both good, and I think both made the playoffs in the same year that wasn't COVID affected.
okay.
Yeah, I actually asked Chad Myers that earlier tonight, and he knew the answer. So,
Of course he did. Chad Myers knows.
yes, Chad's a savant.
Yes. So you going with the Falcons here?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's go to the war for the or, which will be the 5-2, unable to stop the T Rams at Huron, who's 3-4. Sorry, I'm a little bitter about that whole thing. I thought the Rams had a great chance to win the Huron League this year. At 3-4, Huron. Give us your thoughts here, Frank.
Well, I've got some fun facts for you. Black Rock leads the all-time series 40-19. 6 of the last 8 meetings have been decided by one possession. And I have doing some projections. I think Flat Rock needs to win out for at least one home game at Marv Middlestat Field. Huron is pretty much cooked. I think this one, it's a rivalry, so we say throw the records out the window. You could probably say that for this one. I have a feeling it's going to be close, but I think Flat Rock will squeak one out. Maybe a little bit of magic from Graham Youngie late.
Okay, you mentioned the name of Flat Rock's field, Marv Middlestat Field. Do you know the actual name of Huron's football field?
That I do not know.
Okay. I'm pretty sure they have the stadium named Arrowhead. I'm pretty sure, right? But
Really?
the name of the field is actually Mayville Field, and I'm not sure if anybody over at Huron even remembers that.
Oh.
It was called Mayville Field forever, and I may be wrong, but maybe someone can chime in the comments section. It was called Mayville Field because the Mayvilles own that field, and it ended up being where Huron built their football field. And I know the Mayvilles still live kind of across the street, not so much from Huron High School, but from Renton Junior High, which is right next door. Mr. Mayville, the one that I knew growing up, still lives in that same house. So anyways, just a little bit of trivia there. I think this could be a great game. I think it'll come down to the final possession again. I think Huron's got enough talent. They're well enough coached to keep that game close. It's at their place. It's a rivalry game. But with that said, I will go with the mighty Rams of Flat Rock. So, all right, let's go next to, where am I at? Backyard Brawl. Dundee 2-5 at Ida 6-1. A win here could salvage what has been a rough season for the Vikings. What do you say here, Frank?
Oh. I mentioned in our thoughts, not yours, that this one could potentially get ugly. Maybe because Ida's rolling, Dundee has just been floundering. But here's some numbers for you. Ida leads the series 37-26-1 and has won 9 of the last 10. But the last 4 meetings have been decided by one possession. And Ida with a win is going to be comfortably in the playoffs. Dundee has pretty much already been eliminated. So the inclination is thinking Dundee is going to get dump trucked, but this is pretty much their season here. I talked to one player from Dundee this past weekend who I was working some youth football with, and he said, "You know what? We got nothing to lose. They're gonna show up. They're gonna play with pride. They're gonna fight, but my Blue Streaks are gonna get the win."
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, it's the sensible pick. I think Dundee can D them up a little bit. Just a little bit. With that said, I'm just not sure how much Dundee can score. I think you're going to see something like maybe a 26-10, 26-8 game with Ida winning. I think it'll be competitive. They'll end up pulling away in the second half and winning by 2-3 scores anyway. All right, let's go to, we got 2 games left, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to the Golden Cleat. That will be 2-5 Monroe a chance to kind of salvage their season. At 4-3 Bedford, they could ruin Bedford's playoff hopes with a win, potentially ruin their hopes here. What are you thinking, Frank?
Well, this game is brought to you by one of our sponsors, Bedford Septic. You need to get your septic tank clean, give them a call.
Yes.
So, Golden Cleat, Bedford leads the series 14-10. And Bedford pretty much needs to win this game to stay in the playoff hunt. Monroe has been eliminated. That I ran the projections. They cannot get in. And Monroe's been really dealing with some injuries, especially at the quarterback position. They lost Collins Steele. Then they had Grady Brooks in against Skyline. And I heard something that he got a little bit nicked up as well last week. So I am gonna go with Bedford. I think this one will be close. These games usually are. Bedford will win, get to 5-3.
Okay, I agree with you. I think the Kicking Mules win this game. I think it'll be a close game. Depends which Monroe team we get. But I do think it'll be close. But it'll be celebration time down in Temperance as the Kicking Mules get the victory. All right. We do need to throw out our other sponsor. One of our other sponsors, Cakes by Stephanie. Everybody knows them. They're on Monroe Street, right over there near St. Mary's, and just south of the river. Fantastic cakes and cupcakes and all that stuff. Make sure,
And cookie cakes.
yeah, go in there and get your treats and let them know that Friday Night Victors sent you. With that said, the last game we have is our Remax Masters game of the week, and that is the 6-1 Carlson Marauders are at the 6-1 Jaguars of Allen Park. The Downriver League title is on the line. Both teams lost to Trenton this year. For somehow Trenton ended up or is 5-2 thus far in the league with losses to Southgate and Woodhaven the first two games of the season. So this is for all the marbles in the Downriver League. What are you thinking, Frank?
Well, besides both teams falling victim to the voodoo of Reggie Guan, Allen Park leads the series 16-6. But Carlson has won the last two meetings. The Downriver League is on the line, and it used to be that Allen Park was always the boogeyman that Carlson just couldn't get past. Well, I think they started to figure them out, and plus Isaiah Wright is back and healthy. Hey, and what we've seen with Carlson, it's just not him. Joe Corlett can make plays as well as quarterback. Heck, they have so many weapons there. I will take the Marauders to get it done. Not in a close game.
Okay. Boy, this is a tough one here. Allen Park, traditional power. Carlson, more of a power lately. Little trivia. My wife's father owned a meat market in Allen Park for many, many years called Mazchek's Downriver Meats. And back before his passing, we used to go to Allen Park football games quite often because he was an Allen Park grad, and it was fun to go and watch just really, really good football. They just, they were big, they were physical, they were always athletic. And I don't think much has changed over there. They still really have a really good football program. But I don't think there's any way they beat Carlson. I don't think they're as good as Carlson. I think they both fell victim to you call it the voodoo. Just a really good coaching from the guy over at Trenton. And
Yes.
but I think when you compare these two teams and you look at the matchups, Carlson they can run the ball, obviously. They can throw it as well. They're pretty good on the defensive side of the ball. I am going to go with the Carlson Marauders here. So that pretty much wraps up the picks. It was a lot quicker without having Gary here. I figured she'd have the baby and he'd be here anyway. Is it
Yeah.
following me or
Yeah. But hey, you know what? I'm sure Gary will be back next week, and I think for week 9, we'll talk about who's likely in and out, and also don't forget, make sure you download Bring the Wood, a Michigan high school football podcast, which features myself, Chris, Gary, also Cannon Dean, Jeff Hardy, and Nick, who can't pronounce his last name. Produced by the great Max DeSlover. Are available on Spotify. Download it and rate, review, subscribe. Get your high school football talk. We're bringing it to you. We bring the wood.
Yeah, it's really good. And I apologize for missing this week. I just had the worst day ever at school and just wasn't feeling the podcast. But Gary did a great job of jumping in and hosting. And those guys just have a bunch of knowledge. If you're a football geek and you really want to know about all the divisions, there was some really, really good stuff on that podcast. And Cannon's computer models really neat. And the guys, Jeff from Muskegon and Nick from the Lansing area, they really know what they're talking about. And in case you guys don't know, Gary is a guru when it comes to Division 6, 7, and 8. He really knows his stuff. He doesn't get a chance to show that on our Friday Night Victories very often, but really cool stuff. So if you're a football geek and really like to listen to that, I think the last show was about 65 minutes. Our first show was a week and a half ago, I guess it would have been, and that was more like 90 minutes, probably because I talked too much. But anyways, yeah, Bring the Wood. You can find that on Spotify. So with that, that's our show. Frank, you got any more parting thoughts?
Well, as I mentioned, week 8 is rivalry week in the Huron League and also in the LCAA too, and maybe a little bit in the SEC. So, whatever game you go to, enjoy it. And just remember, rivalry games, they say, you throw the records out the window.
Right. Hey, real quick, is Clinton and Hudson playing this week in the LCA?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll be watching that game. I'll probably watch that on film when I get a chance. I'm still getting swooped by this fly. I'll probably watch that game as well. And I tell you what, people, if you don't have a subscription to the NFHS network and you're a football fan, you're really missing out because you can watch games from all over the country. I like to watch it from all over the state. Obviously, if you've been a fan of the blog, you know I've got family down in Florida and I go down there to watch football games. But I watch a lot of those Florida games too. It's really kind of cool. And I guess that's just a plug for the NFHS network. No affiliation, obviously, but it's really, really good stuff. So, hey, I'm excited. We're getting towards playoff time. It's really, really exciting. Week 8's always fun. And, it hasn't been a great year for teams on the blog, but we do have 7 or 8 pretty solid teams. And it'll be interesting to see how many actually make the playoffs and who can make a run, right? But let's get through rivalry week. So with that, Frank, unless you got something to add, I guess we'll call it an evening. So in Gary's absence and for Frank Vashner, I'm Chris Schultz, FridayNightVictors.com. We thank you for watching.